He left me for my sister, the ultimate betrayal. Imagine this. You're in a loving, stable relationship. You've built your life around someone you trust. You plan your future together, and everything seems perfect. But then, one day, out of nowhere, the person you love, the person you thought you'd spend the rest of your life with, tells you they're leaving. But it's not just that they're leaving you, it's who they're leaving you for. Your own sister. This is the story of OP, whose world came crashing down when her partner didn't just betray her, but shattered her family by leaving her for her sister. What happens when the people you love most, the people who are supposed to be your closest allies, turn into the very people who destroy your heart? By the end of this story, you'll have to ask yourself, can trust ever be rebuilt after a betrayal this deep? Could you forgive either of them? Let's dive into the emotional roller coaster. So let's go back a bit and set the stage. OP had been in a relationship with her partner, we'll call him Mark, for about 6 years. They had met through mutual friends in their mid-20s, and their connection had been instant. For OP, Mark wasn't just a boyfriend, he was her soulmate, her future. They had talked about marriage, kids, growing old together. Their lives were intertwined in every way. Mark was kind, supportive, and dependable, the kind of guy OP had always dreamed of. He made her feel loved, secure, and for years, she believed they were on the same page about their future. They shared a home, went on vacations together, and Mark was always present at family events, becoming part of OP's family as much as his own. Now let's talk about OP's sister. We'll call her Emily. Emily and OP were close growing up. They weren't just sisters, they were best friends. They shared everything, secrets, dreams, even clothes. Although Emily was a bit more free-spirited, more spontaneous, and sometimes a little reckless, OP admired her for it. She loved that Emily could just do what she wanted without worrying about what others thought. As adults, OP and Emily remained close. Family was everything to OP, and having her sister by her side was incredibly important. The two were inseparable during childhood and maintained a deep bond through adulthood. They would talk for hours, confide in each other, and provide support through life's ups and downs. Mark and Emily got along well too, which OP appreciated. Emily would often join them for family dinners, parties, and get-togethers. They shared laughs and joked around, and OP felt lucky to have two of the people she loved most in her life getting along so effortlessly. For OP, having her boyfriend and sister close just made her feel even more secure in her relationship and family. Looking back, OP now sees the warning signs that she missed, but at the time, everything seemed normal, perfect even. She had no reason to believe anything was wrong. How could she? She was living in what felt like a perfect world, a loving partner and a close-knit family. Nothing could break that, right? But little did OP know, her life was about to be turned upside down. It all started with little things. At first, they were so subtle that OP didn't even realize something was wrong. Mark seemed a bit distant, more preoccupied with his phone, more evasive when OP asked him simple questions like, "How was your day?" He was still affectionate, but there was a shift in his attention, like his mind was somewhere else. OP brushed it off as stress. Mark had a demanding job and everyone goes through rough patches, right? She didn't want to read too much into it. And besides, Mark had always been there for her. Why would she doubt him now? But slowly, the distance grew. He started staying out later after work, and when OP would ask him about it, he'd give vague answers like, just grabbing a drink with some colleagues. Around the same time, Emily seemed to be around more. She'd pop by their house without warning, texting Mark little inside jokes or memes. OP didn't think much of it. After all, Emily was family, and the three of them were close. But sometimes, the way Emily and Mark would laugh together or exchange knowing glances made OP feel like she was the outsider in her own relationship. One night, OP remembers overhearing them chatting in the kitchen while she was upstairs. They were laughing about something that OP wasn't a part of. She felt a pang of jealousy but quickly dismissed it. Why should she be jealous? Emily was her sister, and Mark was her partner. She trusted them both implicitly. But as time went on, OP couldn't shake the nagging feeling that something was off. Emily and Mark's connection seemed to deepen, but in ways that made OP feel uneasy. They had inside jokes that OP wasn't part of, and more, she found herself being left out of conversations that were once three-sided. She even tried talking to Mark about it once. She casually mentioned, "You and Emily have been hanging out a lot lately." But Mark brushed it off, laughing and saying, "Yeah, she's fun to be around, isn't she? You're lucky to have such a cool sister." His words seemed innocent enough, but OP couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to it. Have you ever had that gut feeling, like something was wrong, but you couldn't put your finger on it? OP was starting to feel like a stranger in her own relationship. But what do you do when the people you love and trust the most are the ones making you feel this way? Could you confront them? Or would you keep trying to convince yourself that everything is fine? Then one day, everything changed. It was a regular Saturday morning, and OP was at home when she noticed that Mark had left his phone on the kitchen counter. Normally, she wouldn't have given it a second thought. She trusted him completely. But this time, something made her pause. A notification popped up from Emily. The message wasn't innocent. It was something personal, too personal. OP's heart started pounding as she picked up the phone and read the message. It wasn't just a friendly text between her sister and her boyfriend. It was a message filled with affection, with secrets, with words that cut OP to her core. She could feel her world crumbling around her. When Mark came back into the room, OP confronted him. She asked him directly, "What's going on with you and Emily?" At first, Mark tried to deny it. He stumbled over his words, made excuses, tried to convince OP that she was overreacting, but OP wasn't backing down. The more she pushed, the more the truth came out. Mark admitted it. He had been seeing Emily behind OP's back. OP felt like her entire world had been flipped upside down. How could this be happening? Her partner, the man she trusted with her heart, had betrayed her with her own sister. It was the ultimate betrayal, something OP never thought could happen to her. The room felt like it was spinning as OP tried to process what she had just heard. Her heart raced. Her thoughts were jumbled, and tears blurred her vision. How could Mark do this? How could Emily do this? These were the two people she trusted most in the world, and they had both betrayed her in the worst way possible. Mark tried to explain, tried to justify it. "It just happened," he said, as if that could somehow soften the blow. He claimed that he and Emily didn't plan it, that they never meant to hurt OP. But how could he say that when every action they took had done nothing but cause her pain? There were no excuses that could make this right. And where was Emily during all of this? She wasn't there when OP confronted Mark, but OP knew that she would have to face her sister soon. How could she even look at Emily after this? The sister she had grown up with, the person she had shared her life with, had betrayed her in a way that felt too cruel to be real. How would you feel if you were in OP's shoes? Not only had she lost her relationship, but her family had been shattered in the process. Have you ever experienced betrayal from the people closest to you? And how do you even begin to recover from something like this? OP knew she had to confront Emily. There was no avoiding it. When she finally did, the conversation was every bit as painful as she imagined it would be. Emily didn't even deny it. She stood there, looking at OP with guilt in her eyes, but she didn't have the courage to apologize. OP was filled with so many emotions: rage, sadness, betrayal. But more than anything, she was heartbroken. Emily, the person she had grown up with, the person she had always trusted, had destroyed their bond. OP demanded answers, asked Emily how she could do this to her own sister. Emily's response was as hollow as Mark's. She said she didn't mean for it to happen, that she never wanted to hurt OP. But how could she say that after sneaking around with OP's partner? The words felt empty, and the damage had already been done. In that moment, OP realized that her entire world had been shattered, not just by her partner's betrayal, but by the loss of her family. The bond she had with her sister, the trust they had shared, was gone. And the worst part? Emily didn't seem to fully understand the gravity of what she had done. It was like she thought OP would just move on, like she could somehow forgive and forget. OP couldn't believe that her sister, the person who was supposed to have her back, had caused so much pain. The trust she had placed in Emily was gone, and OP knew that their relationship would never be the same again. How could it be? How could she ever look at Emily and not feel the weight of this betrayal? OP was left feeling completely alone. She had lost her partner, but more than that, she had lost her family. Emily's betrayal was the ultimate destruction of trust, and it wasn't something OP could ever forgive. Her sense of family, the people she thought she could count on, was gone. How would you feel if a family member did something like this to you? Betrayal is always painful, but when it comes from someone you love deeply, someone you've grown up with, it cuts even deeper. Could you ever forgive your sibling for something like this? Or is this the kind of betrayal that's impossible to move on from? In the weeks and months that followed, OP struggled to pick up the pieces of her life. She moved out of the home she had shared with Mark and tried to rebuild some semblance of normalcy. But everywhere she looked, she was reminded of the betrayal. The places she and Mark had shared, the memories of Emily, all of it was tainted now. OP knew she couldn't go back to the way things were, but moving forward felt just as impossible. The betrayal had left a hole in her heart, one that she wasn't sure would ever heal. Her family had been shattered, and no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't erase the pain of losing both Mark and Emily in the same moment. The emotional toll was immense. OP found herself questioning everything: her relationship, her sense of self, her ability to trust anyone ever again. The people she had loved most had betrayed her, and it made her feel like she couldn't trust her own judgment. How had she missed the signs? How had she not seen this coming? OP tried to focus on herself, but the pain was overwhelming. She sought therapy, hoping to find some kind of closure or understanding. But healing from a betrayal this deep was a slow, painful process. It wasn't just about losing Mark or Emily. It was about losing the future she had planned, the family she had always relied on. As time went on, OP began to heal little by little. She surrounded herself with supportive friends, threw herself into work, and focused on rebuilding her sense of self-worth. But the scars of betrayal didn't fade easily. She had to learn how to trust again, how to open herself up to new possibilities, even when it felt terrifying. OP knew that she would never have the same relationship with Emily again. The bond they once had was broken beyond repair. And as for Mark, she knew she deserved better than someone who would betray her so deeply. Have you ever had to heal from a betrayal this deep? How did you manage to move forward, and what advice would you give to someone who's going through it? Healing isn't easy, and it's a long road, but sometimes, letting go of toxic people is the only way to find peace. Slowly but surely, OP began to rebuild her life. She focused on herself, her goals, her dreams, and her own happiness. She knew that she couldn't let the betrayal define her, even though it would always be a part of her story. She deserved more than to be weighed down by the pain of what had happened. OP found strength in her independence. She didn't need Mark or Emily in her life to be happy. She started rediscovering herself outside of the relationship and the family dynamic that had once defined her. It wasn't easy, and there were days when the pain still felt fresh. But she was determined to build a new life for herself. With time, OP realized that the betrayal had taught her something valuable. It had shown her how strong she was, how much she could endure, and that she was capable of rebuilding her life even after the worst had happened. She didn't need people who didn't respect her in her life, and she certainly didn't need to keep holding on to the hurt. In the end, OP learned that sometimes the people we think we can trust the most are the ones who hurt us the deepest. But those betrayals don't have to define us. They don't have to destroy us. OP chose to move forward, to let go of the people who had caused her pain, and to create a life that was full of joy, love, and new possibilities. So what do you think? Was OP right to walk away from both Mark and Emily? Could you ever forgive such a betrayal? Or is this the kind of hurt that's too deep to move past? Let me know in the comments. I'm really curious to hear your thoughts. OP was absolutely right to walk away. This is such a heartbreaking betrayal, but OP made the right decision to cut both of them out. There's no coming back from something like this, especially when it involves your own sister and partner. Trust is the foundation of any relationship, and both Mark and Emily shattered it. OP deserves so much better than to be stuck in a toxic dynamic like that. The fact that it was both her sister and her partner just makes it worse. How could you ever look at either of them the same way again? OP showed real strength by walking away and putting herself first. Totally agree. OP did what she had to do to protect herself. Keeping people like that in your life, even if they're family, would just be a constant reminder of betrayal. Better to heal and move forward without them. Emily's betrayal cuts deeper because they were sisters. It's one thing for a partner to cheat, but when it's with your own sibling, that's a whole different level of pain. OP not only lost her relationship, but also the trust she had in her sister. Family betrayal hits differently because you expect your family to have your back, no matter what. I don't think I could ever forgive something like that. Exactly. The partner's betrayal is bad enough, but losing your sister in the process is gut-wrenching. How do you even begin to heal when your family is part of the problem? OP is so strong for cutting them both off. The family aspect just makes it so much worse. OP didn't just lose her partner, she lost her whole sense of family. That's a double heartbreak that most people wouldn't be able to recover from easily. Mark's excuses were pathetic. The whole "it just happened" excuse is the worst. Cheating doesn't just happen, it's a series of choices. Mark knew what he was doing and chose to betray OP over and over again. Acting like it wasn't intentional is such a cop-out. I'm glad OP didn't fall for his excuses and left him. Right? It's such a weak excuse. They both made decisions that hurt OP, and the fact that neither of them took real responsibility is just infuriating. OP deserves someone who respects her, not someone who hides behind lame justifications. Absolutely. The fact that he acted like it was some accident shows how little respect he had for OP's feelings. Cheating doesn't just happen. They knew exactly what they were doing. OP's better off without him. The red flags were there, but OP did nothing wrong. Looking back, it's easy to see the red flags. Mark becoming distant, Emily hanging out more, but OP didn't do anything wrong by trusting them. It's normal to believe the people you love, especially your partner and your sister. The betrayal is on them, not OP. She was blindsided because she believed in their goodness, which is heartbreaking. Exactly. It's easy to say in hindsight that OP should have seen it coming, but who would expect their sister and partner to betray them like that? OP did the right thing by trusting them. Unfortunately, they didn't deserve it. 100%. OP couldn't have predicted this level of betrayal, and it's not her fault for missing the signs. It's a natural reaction to trust the people closest to you. The blame lies entirely with Mark and Emily. Healing after something like this takes incredible strength. I can't imagine how hard it must have been for OP to rebuild her life after this. Losing both a partner and a sibling is devastating, but the fact that she found the strength to move forward shows just how resilient she is. It takes real courage to let go of the people who hurt you, even if they're family. Agreed. Healing from this kind of betrayal is a long, painful process, but OP did the right thing by focusing on herself and moving forward. It takes incredible strength to pick up the pieces after something like this. So true. OP's journey of healing is inspiring. It's hard to let go of people who've been such a huge part of your life, but sometimes that's the only way to find peace. She's a reminder that we can survive even the worst betrayals. Emily is beyond disgusting. Imagine being betrayed by someone who's literally been with you your entire life. Your sister. Emily's betrayal is the worst because family is supposed to have your back no matter what. She didn't just break sisterhood. She smashed it into pieces and walked away like it was nothing. And not only that, she didn't even have the decency to apologize or show any remorse. It's like she's a sociopath who doesn't care about the destruction she left behind. Disgusting, yes. How could she just stand there with no real apology? It's like she doesn't even realize what she's done. OP should have confronted her harder, because this wasn't just a fling. It was a full-on, cold-blooded betrayal of family. I hope Emily feels every bit of this for the rest of her life. Right? I don't know what's worse, the affair itself or the fact that Emily showed zero guilt. Her actions are unforgivable. I hope she loses everyone who mattered to her because clearly she doesn't deserve them. OP should cut her off forever. Mark is trash and knows it. Let's talk about Mark for a second. He's a coward. Cheating is bad enough, but to do it with OP's sister and then try to play it off like it's not a big deal? That's next level disrespect. He destroyed not only his relationship, but OP's family, and he can't even own up to it properly. The guy is human garbage. OP, you deserve someone who would never even think of doing something so disgusting. I'm with you. Mark is the definition of spineless. He had everything with OP and threw it away for what? And then to not even have the guts to apologize like a real man? Pathetic. I hope OP doesn't waste another second thinking about this guy. Mark didn't just cheat. He annihilated OP's trust, family, and future, and then acted like it was some small mistake. There's no coming back from this. OP needs to run, block, and delete every memory of this guy. The red flags were there, but love is blind. Looking back, the signs were all there, but OP couldn't see them because she trusted both of them so much. The inside jokes, the weird glances, Emily and Mark were getting too close, and OP's instincts were screaming at her. But when you love someone, you want to believe that they wouldn't hurt you. OP's story is a brutal reminder to trust your gut, no matter how painful it might be. Exactly. Sometimes you just don't want to believe the worst about the people you love. OP was blinded by her trust, and that's the cruelest part. They took advantage of that trust and stabbed her in the heart with it. It's so painful because you want to believe the best in your partner and family. But when your gut is telling you something's off, you have to listen. OP didn't deserve this level of betrayal, but she deserves better now. OP's journey to healing is what really matters. I can't even imagine how hard it must have been for OP to rebuild her life after such a massive betrayal. Losing both your partner and your sister? That's something that could destroy anyone. But the fact that she's working on healing, focusing on herself, and moving forward shows incredible strength. OP's resilience is inspiring, and it proves that even the worst betrayal can't break someone who's determined to survive. OP's healing journey is the real victory here. She's not letting what Mark and Emily did define her life. She's taking control of her own story, and that's the ultimate power move. I couldn't agree more. What Mark and Emily did was awful, but seeing OP move forward is proof that she's stronger than both of them. Her ability to rebuild after this is truly inspiring. And what's amazing is that OP is doing all of this for herself. She's not trying to get revenge or make them feel bad. She's just focusing on her own happiness. That's the best kind of healing, and it shows how strong she really is. Absolutely. OP's story reminds us that healing is possible, even after the worst kind of betrayal. She's not just surviving, she's thriving, and that's the best way to move on from people who don't deserve you. And if you found this story as powerful and emotional as I did, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell for more stories like this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.